Mary.
Hey, Sandra.
Who are we? No, my turn today to say who we are. We are the Screaming Divas
In the woods.
In the woods. Who did we interview today?
Oh my gosh. I know I always say I'm so excited, but I am excited because we pick awesome people. Hello, and here's another one. You have to watch this video. It is with Andrew Ousley of Unison Media. He is the guru, in my opinion, of publicity, social media, anything that you need to build your brand and help your career.
In the classical music world. And the clients that he has, the list of clients just is amazing. It's like reading the who's who of the classical music and opera world.
Absolutely.
Dudamel, Larry Brownlee, Joshua Bell. I mean, we could keep going. Mm-hmm. But the information that he gave us, I mean, how to create that image that you want on social media. And Andrew, these are little gems. I'm telling you, a lot of people pay a lot of money for this information.
Absolutely. He is brilliant.
Besides Unison, he does
this nonprofit called Death of Classical, where they do all these amazing concerts in New York, in the crypts and catacombs. They've got this new stuff coming out in one of the cemeteries. These places you can still do social distancing. So they had concerts in October. They also have wonderful stuff that's coming and being planned for this year.
The Burger Club.
The Burger Club of New York. Oh my gosh. Like rating the best burgers everywhere. I mean, how do you not love this human being? Love him. I totally wish that I had an Andrew in my life or a Unison Media in my life when I started in a young artist program, to know exactly how to work social media and to use it for my advantage. Use it in a way that is authentic and real, yet helps my career and helps the opera business.
Yeah, no one ever told us all of this information, and this is a gift to all of you out there.
Whatever. But I love him. I would love to promote anything that he does. And
check out the clip.
Check out the clip. He's amazing, people. Do not miss this one.
I am Batman. He doesn't sleep.
He does not sleep. I mean, I think he is. Is he secretly Batman?
Oh, I think he's Batman.
Wouldn't that make sense?
Gotham. There you go.
There you go, people.
He lives in New York.
You'll love this.
Check it out.
Check it out.
It is bad for your mental health. Unequivocally and undoubtedly, it is bad for your mental health. And you compare yourself to other people, and that is the best version of them that they're putting out there. Mm-hmm. It distracts you constantly, and it causes you to reduce yourself and your value to numbers on a page, and a million other things that are terrible about it. And so this is also why I separate personal and professional use, because like you should use social media to further your career, but it is not your career, it is not your artistic value, and it's certainly not your fucking human value in any way, shape, or form. I hope I can swear on this, by the way.
You know what? We drink and we swear because we're coming up to that.
Oh, nice. We got the champagne.
And it is chilled. Damn, Skippy, I need this shit today.
Your mama raised you right. You a lady.
Okay, hold on. I should do this. Should I wait to pop it when he gets in?
Yeah.
Okay.
New York.
Oh, hey-o. Straight out of the bottle. Classy.
She's a
boom.
Nothing like the sound of that. Hey, last episode it was straight out of the bottle, but today I'm a classy gal.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
Some classic.
That's a better way to finish the week. Salud.
Yeah. Cheers. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a fantastic Chicago-based single barrel rye whiskey called Koval, which is just excellent stuff.
You are fancy today on the Divas.
You know it. It's only the best for you guys.
Well, I feel like I need to wear my glasses so that I looked a little smarter, because you're super smart, and I just really needed to feel like I was smart.
It's working. It's working.
Okay, good.
I should get some fake glasses. My cat's maybe running around in the backdrop somewhere too, by the way.
Who?
Who is?
Hold on.
Hold on. Is that Gizmo?
This is Gizmo.
I wonder
Greatest-
where Gizmos was because you guys are
greatest
working
cat
from
in
home.
the history of the world.
Oh,
Oh, he is a little furry angel.
I love this. I wish Humphrey, my Saint Bernard, could come climb the stairs and meet Gizmo. That would be
Yeah.
fun.
He's a little mischievous, but he's got a heart full of love.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Sweet.
he has been a joyous addition to our lives.
That's awesome.
How you doing?
Good.
And where are you?
I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
All right.
And,
Harry, mug.
yeah, living. Oh, you got the Brooklyn?
No, I got the New York City one.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
That'll do. Yeah, we're here and doing well. We can't complain at the end of the day.
Love it.
It is what it is.
Well, we really wanted to talk to you because not only have you been such an amazing help to me personally, as well as to both of us in Screaming Divas, that we wanted to talk to you about you and about your business and about your company you started in 2015 called Unison, which is super awesome.
Yeah.
So I know that you worked at some big fancy labels before you started your startup. Do you want to talk about that or talk about your story and how you got into all this?
Yeah, sure. I started. I don't play any classical music or opera or anything like that. I played in rock bands, but my mother was an amateur opera singer, and I fell in love with Maria Callas.
God bless you. God.
Thanks to her and thanks to Tosca. And in college I majored in philosophy, but I took a lot of music courses, and there was a professor there who became a great mentor and taught me. I sort of fell in love with the repertoire. And then I did a fellowship after I graduated studying classical music and culture in Europe, in France and Finland, comparing their cultures and their histories and their musical histories, which is very interesting. A lot of wine, a lot of vodka, and then a little bit of classical music here and there.
I'm in Paris right now. There you go. So cheers. In my dressing room. So
yeah, so I did that, and then I got back, and there was a job open at EMI Classics, home of Maria Callas, and so I just took it. It was entry level. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I wanted to get into the administrative side, but still be dealing with something that I cared about and like classical music. And so I got the job primarily because I put one of my experience things was feline socialization, since I used to volunteer at cat shelters, and so I think he just thought that was funny, so I was like, sure, you get a job, kid.
Hilarious.
And how old were you then?
I was 23, so
wow. Okay.
Fresh faced, and that was the week I started, was the week that Tower Records closed and the record business went into catastrophic free fall.
Right.
10 years.
Yes.
And so I just survived basically and took on more and more, and stuck with it for about 10 years. I took a little break to move to Australia for fun, and came back and was there again, and the label got bought and sold and a couple times over, and ended up EMI became Warner Classics and so on. And I basically just kind of took on more and more. I started in marketing, but ended doing publicity, radio promo, marketing, social media, website, artist development, business development. So kind of took it all in by the end. And I just kind of realized after a while that the artists I was more interested in working with the artists, and I didn't want to be kind of tethered to one thing, the CD sales. And so I wanted to take the variety of skills and areas that I had gotten experience in and combine them into a more unified vision for how to promote artists and companies. And so thus was born Unison. And that's basically the philosophy that we've had since the start, to take traditional publicity and media, social media, websites, marketing, branding, all of these things, and combine them so that every point at which you can encounter the public face of an artist or an organization, the storytelling is coherent, consistent, and unified across all of those areas.
That's a big deal.
It is
That's a
huge.
huge deal because, and who knew that there would be a pandemic and everything was going to be online.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I mean, it's been a very interesting time.
For
Well,
sure.
your value just went up exponentially, you know?
Yeah, especially with video. I mean, that was one of the first things when I started Unison. One of the first things I did was, go on Craigslist and buy a couple of DSLR cameras with a couple of lenses and just learn how to shoot and edit multi-camera video footage, because
Okay.
I just realized that that was what, at that point, it was still new, but that was what all of the social media channels were prioritizing and were getting the most, giving the most sort of algorithmic reach to. And so I just learned how to do that. Obviously, I don't do that so much these days, but we have video crews. But video was always hugely important to my thinking and my strategy. And so obviously, when March hit, everything turned to video and live, both live and pre-recorded. So knowing how to promote and market that did become a pretty in-demand skill.
Sure. Has the pandemic affected your business at all, in the sense where some of your performers who aren't able to work right now have had, I mean, there's not, what do you do? What do you post for someone who's all of a sudden career has been sidelined by this horribleness?
Yeah, well, that has been the question. I mean, a lot of it has been, what can we do online that furthers the storytelling around you? And I think you guys are pretty great examples that can work and that can become something, as I just read about in Opera News this month. So
Oh, I'm sorry, shameless plug right there.
Exactly, there it is though. That's, you guys are the shining embodiment of that approach, which is, if you don't have angles, you don't have pegs or hooks on which to hang promotion, create them. And that's been a part of my approach as well, which sort of incorporates project management, but create the best story points, and then you have complete control over the promotion, and you can make sure that this is the best thing to promote. That's what led me to make this concert series that I started in a crypt in Harlem, which has become very much its own crazy beast of a thing. But
So cool though. We have to talk about that.
Yeah,
Kind of spooky, but cool.
Yeah, it started because I had a couple of artists who had things happening, projects, but they didn't really have a place to perform them, and they dealt with grief and memory. And I was just like, well, I found this crypt, it seems cool, we can probably get a piano down 30 steps into a crypt and let's do it. And so we did it, and we got tons of press, and it was just awesome. It's an amazing space to experience.
And you're not going to disturb anybody.
Not disturbing anybody, and nobody's going to disturb you. So
you hope.
Yeah, you hope.
Great. Yeah, exactly. It gets a little. The catacombs. When we moved to the Brooklyn catacombs as well, we expanded. That got a little creepy. Sometimes you'd have some crickets and some noises, untoward noises. But no, it's that's an example of just creating something that served the storytelling. And so for digital, that a lot of it has been that what can we make, or who can we partner with to make something that will have a story that we can promote on social media to maximize, continue to feed the engagement and reach there, but also transfer over to traditional media. And starting a talk series with Lawrence Brownlee was one thing that we did early on, Sit Down, which continues to evolve and expand. And so doing that and knowing how to do that in a way that on a technical level maximizes the reach, but also then how to set it up and present it in a way that makes it have enough meat on the bone, so to speak, to be promoted to traditional media and feel as though this is a statement on par with a performance that warrants coverage. That's been, a lot of that has been what we do these days, and taking digital ideas and helping them to become significant enough to be newsworthy, really, and contribute to the culture.
Okay, whoever's listening to this, because including myself, like, that was freaking brilliant. I mean, that is huge. That just focused all of it down into really one sentence. I love that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I think it's something that I hope carries on after the pandemic is over. This idea that you can be creative, not just in your music making, but the projects and the structure that you build around your music making, and the story that you tell around it. And hopefully it concentrates that thinking, but then allows people to take it in new directions once we are no longer just confined to the screens in front of us.
So, so walk us through, say Carrie comes to you and says, I want to hire you, Unison. How do you go forward from there?
There's a lot of factors. Obviously, to me, my first and foremost is to make sure that you should be hiring PR in general at this point. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. And I think it's an area where I've done a lot of work with young artists over the pandemic through like programs like the Adler Fellows and
Awesome.
it has been striking to me, and it's something from the start, but particularly over the last couple of months as I've been doing more of this, how young artists have no sense, they get no real training, practical training in the less sexy parts of their career, like their branding, their marketing, their publicity, and they just kind of wing it and make it up as they go. And it's an area where I think artists get screwed over. They get really exploited by people who just want to take their money. And so I think my primary goal is to make sure that I'm not contributing to that and letting somebody pay me who is not going to get a return on that investment. So I need to make sure they're at a point in their career where I can get the placements that they could never get for themselves. And that they have enough storytelling that I think will resonate with media and build into something that, again, warrants paying somebody as opposed to doing it yourself. And a lot of what I try to do, and since the start of Unison, is also like teach artists, because one of the big changes the last 10 years, 15 years is artists can do their own publicity, and they can do it with significant results, and results that are oftentimes better than what you would get hiring a publicist, especially a sort of mid-level publicist, or especially earlier in your career. And knowing how to do it will make you so much more effective when you do hire somebody, because you will know when they're doing the job or when they're bullshitting you. And so that's the first step. And if I don't think that they need that now is the right time for a publicist, or this is the right project, then I tell them that, and I tell them why. And if it's something I can help through consulting, then I do that, or I offer that, which is a way more cost-effective means of achieving that success. So yeah, and then obviously I assess what they're about, what's their mission, what is the story, what are they trying to achieve. To me, it's important to take on artists that I think are good people first and foremost. I have no desire, no money is enough to work with somebody who I don't think is good, is trying to make the world better. And yeah, and then what do they want to offer? I also try to work in our ongoing work with artists who I think are part of the future of the industry, not part of the past. And that's not to denigrate the artists who are focused on the old models and the old infrastructure of the industry, because there's a lot of money to be made, and there's frankly a lot of extraordinary art to still be made from those structures. But I don't want to be propping up those structures in 20 years as they crumble around me. I want to be continuing to build the future, and the artists, be working with the artists who want to be doing that alongside me. And so having that sort of adventurous mindset, willingness to try things, go out on a limb, sing in a crypt sometimes, those are the kinds of artists that I want to work with. And so those are really the criteria. And then obviously
do you do the posting for them.
Yeah. So we do basically almost all the artists we take on, we do publicity and social media and website. That's the optimal way I think that we work, because if we're not controlling all of those, then the messaging can become fragmented and can create that sort of either that cognitive dissonance or weaken the impact of the message and the storytelling. Because again, if somebody hears one story about somebody in their bio, in their website, and through the news articles that are placed on them or the radio or the TV interviews, but then goes to their social media and sees a completely different person, a completely different story, then either one or both will ring false, or it will just weaken the end and weaken the concentration of the impact of the storytelling that we're trying to do and the impressions that we try to create around these artists.
When you talk to the young artists, well, let me preface this question by this. I have found, as I do my own research, that the younger generations really just post whatever they want. I mean, it is just fly by the seat of your pants.
It's my dinner.
Even young artists and programs that are representing big programs are posting things that sometimes, I mean, I love these people, but sometimes I'm like, oh, you know, because I don't know, well, if is that appropriate or not? Or am I just the old lady going, oh my gosh, you can't post that? I go back and forth all the time because I'm more for be authentic, be you, be real. I think that resonates more with people. We are no longer in the model that I grew up in where an opera diva has to look and be a specific thing. That is no longer the case. That's hence what we're doing here, because we were taught to never show ourselves like this ever. So this was like stepping off a cliff for us as
Just
far
pause, and can I say cheers to you guys for that?
Yes,
That
drinking out of a
unto
bottle.
itself,
I've done that. Cheers.
unto
Thank
itself,
you.
a
And for your help. Honestly, people out there don't know how much you truly have helped us.
I was just helping you guys spread the gold you've already made.
Aw,
You're really sweet. I need a lot of help still. And when you look at the very first video to videos now, it's really hilarious.
but it just goes to prove how gumption, just pure gumption, can make something work. And Carrie has learned so much about the editing, and I say Carrie because she really does all the editing and all the sparkles that you see and everything. That's all Carrie, and she has learned.
Still
Because
learning. It's like a never-ending cycle of learning, never-ending cycle of frustration too. But I just wanted to know from the young artists, like, how are you, when you say branding, I also feel like that's an old word too, because branding used to look a certain way. What does branding mean to you? And what are you advising these young artists, especially in programs, about the stuff that they're throwing out there?
Yeah, it's good. I'm actually going to be releasing a series of videos I'm going to put out for free, hopefully starting in a couple of weeks. There,
Awesome.
over 60 of them. Each one is a minute, and they're pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited for them.
I love that.
we gotta watch this. We gotta watch this.
Yeah, each of them explains like a sort of different one of the core concepts of branding, marketing, publicity, and social media. So you have like 10 or 15 for each of those topics, covering what I think are the most important things to think about. But and like part of it, one of the most important parts is just redefining those words, because those are words that people just don't know what they're about. And to me, really, it is all about storytelling for an artist. If you're McDonald's or Apple, it's a different thing. But if you're an artist, like, your brand is your story. It is what differentiates you and your music making. Publicity, marketing are the tools you use and you create and control to tell your story. Publicity is telling your story, but also telling it in such a way that you get other people to tell it for you and to talk about you. Because that is the end goal, is to create a conversation that takes on a life of its own, but that you are controlling, or somebody is controlling for you, so that it doesn't spin out of control or go in the wrong direction. And then social media
world.
Yeah, exactly. And then social media is about creating this community around you and your story that you can feed content to and feed storytelling to, but also receive information from, and build this group of evangelists who support you, but also speak for you and spread the news about you. So those are the high level concepts of how I think about those things. And for branding, really, to me, it comes down to the story points that you tell about yourself, the concentrated story points, both musical and extra musical, and in the spectrum between, in terms of what differentiates you, your personal history, your approach to music, the repertoire, all these things, your approach to singing, if you're a singer, your hobbies, are you like a fantastic gymnast or something, like those can be a little gimmicky, you got to be careful, but the idea of what are the 3 or 4 or 5 things that you focus on that differentiate you, that make you interesting and three-dimensional, without being too complex, or the story points that might seem interesting but actually aren't that interesting. And so a lot of it is helping people to refine those. And obviously for the people we do PR for, we define them for them with their agreement, of course. But helping artists to parse those out and get them codified, written down, because that's what you use to promote. And then at a higher level, another sort of 50,000 foot view, it's the impression that you want to create and that you want people to have around yourself. And if you think about it, all artists with established brands, there are maybe 2, 3, 4 words or concepts or ideas that come to the minds of the majority of people when they think of them. And when you think of a Renee Fleming, for instance, you don't think of, ooh, edgy and like dark. You know, you think of classy, you think of, you know, a sort of
American diva,
American diva, and so on. And similar when you think of, you know, somebody like Pavarotti, it's a very different 3 or 4 words. Somebody like a Yo-Yo Ma, a Lang Lang. These are very different brands, but on a technical level, you think of it as what are the few things that most people are going to feel on a visceral level. And starting as a young artist, but even at any stage of your career, to think what are the impressions that you want to create, and do those story points support those impressions and create them. And then obviously story points change and morph and come and go over the course of a career, and you sometimes focus on new things or change the focus of a certain story point, but they should always be contributing to those higher level impressions that you want to create. And those impressions have to be focused. You cannot be everything to everybody, or you will be nothing to everybody.
Wow.
Never have an impression.
That's rich information.
Yeah.
Somebody once from the Hollywood world said to me that you have to come up with a list of words and think in your mind before you start really doing the social media blitz for the young artist, for anybody. You have to, in your mind, imagine how you want yourself to be viewed. Because social media is not necessarily, and I think this is what the young artists, and Carrie and I, we've talked about this quite a bit, young artists don't really think think the whole process through, and that you can create how you are perceived.
100%.
And it's forever out there.
And I failed to actually answer your question, Carrie, which is when it comes down to social media, which again, to me, you have to start with the branding and the storytelling, but then social media is about telling the story and creating community. And the problem, one of the first things that I tell people when I'm sort of talking to them about social media is it is professional as much as it is personal. And that is the burden that you bear becoming a public figure. And anybody who wants to be an artist, you're becoming a public figure. That's just, you cannot have it both ways. You can't be a successful artist without becoming a public figure. And so what you enjoy in social media in a much more personal capacity, in the people who are never exposed en masse to the public, they can enjoy a very different kind of social media than an artist can, a public figure can. And so what I tell them is your social media, that's a compromise you make for the career that you pick. And unless you want to have very private personal accounts, which is fine, but which will also divide the access, and most people will not follow you on both. And so you will divide your reach, which especially as a young artist can be very dangerous. Not dangerous, but it can be detrimental to the impact of your socials as you build them. But if you are going to only do one and it's going to be public, you must have balance. You must edit yourself, and you cannot share things that do not further your career, because that's it. You are on social media as an artist to further your career at the end of the day. And things that don't serve you can't go on there, or things that serve you negatively can't go on there. And that's not to say that it should be all public facing professional career stuff, because nobody wants to see it. The goal of publicity also, or social media, is to show more dimensions of yourself and your personality in your life, and to create a more intimate experience of you for people. But it still has to be considered, and it has to be edited. And otherwise you will risk turning people off. You will risk saying something you shouldn't say, or again, creating a negative impression or an unfocused impression as well.
Yeah. A glimpse, but not opening the door into your personal life, you know?
Exactly. And because again, people are never, fans will never be friends on the same level. You can't have thousands and thousands of close friends. And it's the kind of thing that young artists often have an issue with that. But the fact is fans don't necessarily want to be best friends. They don't want to hear like, oh my gosh, like I have a hangnail right now. It's really bothering me. Like they don't want to know the many things that like make you a full-fledged human being with an intimate relationship with somebody that your friendships are. They want to get the best story of you, and they want to feel connection to you and to your art and be moved by your art. And so social media is about giving them that connection, but not getting weird about it. And then also obviously on the other side of the spectrum, being too professional. And this is a personal philosophy around social media, is I don't subscribe to the idea of the hyper polished influencer like social media accounts, particularly on Instagram. And I understand it's a strategy and it's a tactic. There are tactics involved at the same time, and it can work very well. But to me, we are not, in opera or classical music, we are not trying to become influencers at the end of the day. Like you will never have 10 million followers the way that like a makeup artist has, or some
Kim
duck-faced
Kardashian.
duck-faced Angelino. So like you just, and that's not how we use social media. And it's just also like we are a niche within a niche, and people, they're just, the numbers will never be there. But it's also not about getting 10 million followers. It's about getting 10,000, 50,000 followers who engage and who believe in you. And so that when you post something, it moves the needle. And that comes, I believe, not of having this uber polished where everything has a frame and a font and a color scheme and you're, perfectly lit. Like that doesn't get people to connect to you in an honest way. And like you said, Sandra, like it's not, the age of the diva is over. And now it is about connecting, but again, connecting to the best version of somebody. And that's what it's
with
about.
intent, because I see so many young artists, because I give a lot of master classes, and they just post what they had for dinner and them, doing duck face in their dressing room. And I say to them, guys, this is forever out there on the Ethernet. I mean, it is forever out there. So think through how you want people to look at you and how much of your personal life, because I say this all the time, your personal life, there's a reason why it's called your personal life. Once you give too much of that information, you can't take it back.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to decide, and it has to be a conscious decision. Carrie and I, we've gone through this a lot with Screaming Divas. How much of our lives do we really want to share? And how much of it do we still want to keep personal? And that's been a very conscious decision of what we've done on this. And I think young artists need to really think through all of this whole process, especially now with the pandemic. That is their one venue and their one avenue right now to the broader public.
Exactly. And the other thing I tell people, all artists at any level of their career, is you don't need to post. Don't post unless it is content that serves you, that is compelling and that serves you. Nobody is sitting around waiting for posts from any artist, short of like the Miley Cyrus fanatics. And that's not a negative, like a denigration. That's just, again, the nature of the majority of people in our industry, the fans and the artists, and the nature of how social media is used in our industry. Other than a handful of obsessive fanatics, but they number in the on the tens and the hundreds, not the hundreds of thousands, like for a Justin Bieber, where the pop music machine is about creating that fanaticism, that mindless fanaticism. That's not a part of opera. You just don't have a lot of mindless fanatics, because it's just part of who the art form connects with and appeals to. And so like that, people are not waiting for content. And so the content you put out should be what serves you when. And there was a lot of times early in the pandemic when I said to artists, like, if you don't want to come up with content right now, you don't need to. And we don't need to bother you, because if you just want to sit and process this and not worry about feeding the beast of social media, like that is entirely your right. This is a hard time. And nobody is going to say, oh, why the hell isn't this person posted in 4 weeks? Like, it's just not going to happen. And so, as always, mental health and personal happiness always take precedence over any of these things, branding, social media, marketing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Isn't that the truth? And I feel like right now, as a lot of us are coming up on the year mark, 10-month to 12-month mark, it's a shit show, people. I mean, there are a lot of people that really don't know where to go and what to do next and how to move through this or how to process this. And honestly, I mean, there have been days myself where I don't want to know that March 13th is coming. I don't want to know. I just like March 13th is coming. It's going to be a year. I didn't feel safe in performing before or during this. So in certain places, so to have to say no to that is heartbreaking. And so I don't know. What am I trying to say? This time is a rough time. I don't know either.
Yeah. Put yourself first.
Yeah, put yourself first. I think that's really important. And so for me, like some of the things you're saying, I'm like, yeah, does this post do these things? Like the most recent post, other than our video that's being released today, was, I thought it was really funny to see Humphrey rest his head on my headrest in the car, and it made me laugh. And so I was like, well, I'm posting that. That's hilarious. Does that make sense?
But it made you happy. And I think that's a big part of it. If it also makes you happy.
Yeah.
And it lets the world know how you're feeling.
Yeah. And I mean, sharing that kind of thing is that content can be incredibly powerful, because you are sharing something that makes you happy in the hopes that it will make your community happy. That said, this is why all artists must learn how to parse the analytics of their social channels. If it doesn't perform at an equal or higher level than your average sort of engagement metrics, like number of likes, number of comments, etc. If it performs at a lower level, then you've got to maybe don't post that next time. And for instance, like working with a young artist where she loved taking landscape photos on her phone and some beautiful sunsets and beautiful, just she's a great eye. But they were looking at her feed and doing it on desktop and mousing over and seeing the average likes per post. They always performed a third of the average, like a half to a third of the average. And so my point to her was, listen, unless you are trying to become the next Ansel Adams, you need to focus this. And you can, if you simply must put them up on the feed, go for it. But otherwise, share them as stories and make a saved story highlight of photography, or share them a bunch at once in a single gallery. If here's some recent ones. Or share them in a gallery, but with like a personal thought or philosophical reflection or something. So you're not just saying Woods 2014, whatever. Like, so part of being a professional about your social media is being disciplined in that way and saying, I thought this was going to work. It's actually not working. I've got to either figure out another way to do it or cut it. And when we take on particularly institutional clients with social media and helping them with their social media, a lot of the initial work is simply saying, like, I'm bringing out the hatchet, my friends, and cutting all of these streams of content that the bosses might want you to do, or that you might just like putting up, but that nobody cares about. Yeah. Because if nobody engages, if you're putting out what you like and nobody's engaging with it, that's not furthering your career. Again, you're using social media in a personal capacity, not a professional capacity.
So talk to us about the different mediums of social media and also the analytics, because we've talked about this. Facebook is the spawn of Satan.
Right now. It's the worst.
It's the worst.
The worst.
But and also about the analytics, I bet a lot of the young singers don't actually know about the analytics and following that and knowing what their audience, their core audience is, who they are and what they watch. So what would you say to a young singer that's trying to do this themselves? What apps or what social media outlets should they try?
All right, we'll do a quick rundown of the platforms, right? So Facebook, the worst, also the biggest, also the most established, also the most powerful in terms of the kinds of media that you can share, the things you can share, photos, videos, live streams, links, text only, different formatted text, having groups. It is by far the most powerful and complex of the social platforms, and it has the largest following at the largest user base at the end of the day. They have also massively throttled the reach to that user base, particularly for pages that existed before 2016, used to have much higher reach, and then overnight in January of 16, as a response to the Trump election, they throttled the hell out of the reach of professional pages. And it's come back in fits and starts, but it has also massively made it massively difficult to have that same hyper level of engagement that you used to have. That said, strategically, as I said, it's not about the numbers, it's about the community that you build. Opera particularly, but classical music as a whole, there's a lot of old people, especially making decisions. And and Facebook, unquestionably, all of the analytics, the data shows that it's an older demo, and it's, you know, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s up there figuring out, still sending Farmville invites, and you know, just posting angry news hits that your uncle loves. But that is also where but that's where the older people in our industry are. And many of them are making a decision. And so one of the reasons why I say, you like, sorry to these young artists, like especially like the Gen Zers, where they're like, fuck you, I'm not getting a Facebook page. And I'm like, yes, you are.
You make them. Okay.
And you've got to, because like, how else can you engage with the Facebook pages of the opera houses where you sing? How else can you cross post a video or a Facebook Live? And how else can you get the people who follow that institution and who work at that institution and follow that institution's socials to follow you and to become a part of your community? And so you have to have it, and you have to be on there, and you have to put the minimum of content out there. Instagram obviously is where the growth is at the moment, although it is peaking, but it is still, you know, almost 10 times more engaged on average than the same number of followers on Facebook. You'll have almost 10 times the engagements on Instagram on average. It's more limited in that it's visual, it's photos and it's videos by and large. You can, you know, mess with text on there, but really it's a visual medium. And it's limited in terms of how you can share links and what you can do with stories and other things live, etc. But it is still the most powerful one, and it is where the younger decision makers and obviously artists and colleagues are. So you've certainly got to be on there, but you have to learn how to do it from a technical standpoint as well, how the best ways to tag, the best ways to share, and the best content to put on the feed versus stories and so on, and how to be effective in that. Twitter, I take it back. Twitter is the dumbest. Facebook is close and it gives it a run for its money more every day, but Twitter's the worst. Unless you get Twitter, unless you just understand intuitively how to be a part of the conversations, engage in conversations, throw out snarky witticisms in a couple hundred characters, then go get them. You're awesome for Twitter. If you are, and you can actually, particularly with traditional media, a lot journalists are all on Twitter.
Yes.
You can engage with journalists in a more like human way, but then eventually they will flag you and notice you and be interested in you via Twitter, and that often leads to having champions in the traditional media who cover you and then create traditional media articles and stories around you. That's so cool. Value, but only if you're good at it. If you did Twitter poorly, you'll A, waste your time, and B, probably say something wrong that gets you canceled. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, Twitter is essentially, you should be on there again, just so you can engage when needed with the organizations that
they've added fleets right now. So they're
fleets. Fucking who who cares? Things are
Right.
done.
It's kind of dumbing it down in a way, isn't
It's
it?
just they're just all trying to copy each other. But essentially, Twitter is where you put news, really important things, unless you engage with it personally.
TikTok.
TikTok, again, if you get it, if you sign on to TikTok and you're like, ooh, I can make content like this. This is natural. This is what I do. This is who I am. Go get them. TikTok has a gajillion times the engagement of Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter combined. It's insane. The growth. We had an intern who was functionally brain dead as an intern, and in terms of the work that they did for us, but who went over the course of like 2 months from 1,000 TikTok followers to 12,000 or something insane, standing in front of a green screen and just dancing a little bit. So the growth and the engagement is off the charts. Will it last? Will it get taken down? Will Reels on Instagram end up superseding it? This is the other problem with early stage social media platforms, is you can invest a hell of a lot of time and energy in them, and they go away. Or they massively lose relevance and reach and impact. Snapchat is another one. No idea where that's going to end up. And so unless you get it naturally, then wait until it hits maturity. I guarantee you there's not a lot of people on there right now.
I think it's come and gone.
Yeah.
Snapchat. I think that was Snapchat. But with TikTok, I mean, I put it on my phone, loved it, hilariousness. There's some crazy stuff going on TikTok that, I'm laughing so hard laying in bed before I go to bed. I'm laughing so hard, I'm shaking the bed, and my husband's like, what's going on? And I'm like, look at this. And he's like, why is that up on your phone? Like, get that off your phone immediately.
My husband told me the same thing.
Because of the safety stuff with this. I mean, my husband's a techie, so, he's into all this and he knows about the safety. He has to for his job. So I took it off, even though I'd love to be on there and put all kinds of content on that. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like we've sacrificed our privacy, right? And it's that saying, if I forget who said it, but if you are not paying for something, you are the product. And that is true of all social media platforms. You are the product as users, and there are inherent privacy issues, and I think we will see them addressed in the next 15 years. And I think in 15 years, we will have a very different conversation about social media, because it's Wild West right now.
Well, it is.
The internet still in a lot of ways. And as with the Wild West, there you can take advantage of it. And if you become the first opera TikTok star with a gajillion followers, that can carry a career that otherwise would not exist, and create a career and a story that otherwise would have nothing. So there are advantages in that, and you can build a community. But look at Vine. The biggest Vine users, hey, shit, Vine's gone. Sorry, time wasted. So again, it's YouTube as well. Like, YouTube's another one. Unless you are going to be a YouTuber, which again, I don't really advocate for in our world, unless it is just a massive personal strength, then it is a place to share video content that you get and that you make, but not worth investing a huge amount of time strategically and tactically in. And so those to me are the main ones. Snapchat, TikTok, all those are ancillary. SoundCloud, Vimeo, they're functional.
I have a question now to play devil's advocate. Have you seen the movie The Social Dilemma on Netflix?
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Sorry, but just to play devil's advocate, because I am of that age, I'm older than Carrie. I mean, do you feel that social media in some ways has ruined our lives? Infringed upon our lives?
This is a difference between personal and professional. I personally don't use social media very much. It is bad for your mental health, unequivocally and undoubtedly. It is bad for your mental health. And you compare yourself to other people, and that is the best version of them that they're putting out there. It distracts you constantly, and it causes you to reduce yourself and your value to numbers on a page, and a million other things that are terrible about it. And so this is also why I separate personal and professional use, because like you should use social media to further your career, but it is not your career, it is not your artistic value, and it's certainly not your fucking human value in any way, shape, or form. I hope I can swear on this, by the way.
You know what? We drink and we swear
We
because
drink
we're
and
coming up to
swear all
that.
the time. Yeah.
That's what I
But
like to
no,
hear.
I think people need to know that,
Absolutely.
especially the younger generation, how it infringes upon your personal life and how getting notifications all the time, you know, you don't, it's unconscious, but you pick up your phone and you don't even realize it and how much time it eats out of your life.
Absolutely. That said, unfortunately, and this is another compromise you make as a public
Yeah.
figure, if you want the best and most powerful storytelling, you need there are tools that you need to have and you need to employ. So a lot of it is a balance. And one of the things I try to do, especially with young artists, is say, this is what you need to do in your social media. This is the bare minimum. If you do this, you will get good results. You don't need to do more than this necessarily to allow your social media to rise with your career and support the rise of your career and facilitate it. Because oftentimes artists get so caught up in how many followers do I have, how much am I posting, you know, and so on. So you need to learn the best practices and you need to learn the baseline strategic necessities of social media as an artist. And once you do that, everything else is gravy, but is also unnecessary from a functional standpoint. And unless you can always do more, but you can also put that time towards your singing or put that time towards spending an hour or two with a loved one. And because
Right.
it's important to be a person as much as it is to be an artist and a public figure. So yeah, I think that balance is incredibly important to strike and to be disciplined in maintaining if your socials expand and blow up, because then the immediate response is, okay, now I've got to put all my time into social media. And sure, it could help, but you could also at that point hire somebody to do it for you and know if they're doing a good job or not. And you know, that kind of an investment can pay dividends in mental health, protecting your mental health.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to say this in all this. Something of what you said was why I really fought being on social media for a very long time, because who I am as a person, I think anybody that really knows me knows how genuine and authentic I am at all times, even sometimes when you really don't want me to be, and very opinionated. So I really felt like being on social media in the midst of a job, trying to promote a job or promote how happy I am when it's a shit show or it's horrible or I really don't want to be here or all this kind of stuff was really extremely difficult for me. And something I just felt like I can't just put all the happy crap because that's not real life. And I don't want someone to feel bad because they're looking at my profile thinking, oh my God, this girl has the perfect life. She has a perfect husband, perfect house, perfect dog, whatever. And so there are times where I've put, probably now that I've been on it more than maybe I should have, but I just needed to be very real about what is going on in life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And again, like, this is where it gets tricky. And part of one of the hardest parts of the work that I do is balancing this line, because in the same way that you can be having a terrible week and having a lot of issues in your life, you've got to get up on stage and sing, right? And you've got to do your best to get up on stage and do what you are hired to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks, but that's also part of the reality of being a professional. There are days when I don't want to get up and write a press release. Somebody's paying me to do it and they need it to happen. So sometimes I've got to just do that. And social media, again, as a professional, as this hybrid, this awful hybrid of personal and professional, some days you don't want to post something, but like you kind of have to support something that is hugely important in your career and to tell a story around it.
Okay.
This is where the gray area is. Sometimes you can just say, I'm going to wait a couple of days. No, again, nobody cares if I share these production photos a few days after opening. Right. It's going to go right along.
Right.
Or occasionally you can just stop and say, hey, we're in the middle of an opening. I should be overjoyed, but there are so many things that I'm struggling with. And you can say that and talk about that and be honest.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful with that.
Okay.
And again, like, because if all you ever talk about on your social media is, ooh, this is hard. I'm feeling pretty bummed out today, or like, ooh, I'm stressed, I'm anxious.
Right.
That can damage your career because people will either be like, well, that's depressing.
Or I can't handle it.
Unfollow, or worse, people will say, the people who hire singers will say, she seems unstable to me. Oh, I don't think we
Yep.
can hire her. And that is dangerous.
Mhm.
And that is where it is this terribly difficult gray area that it is the nature of being a public figure, that you just have to navigate and do the best you can, and know that nobody ever does it perfectly right. And it's also, while it is always on the internet, to your point, Sandra, it is also amidst a gajillion other things that are on the internet. And people, as we know from the last 4 years of the president, people forget real quick and move right on to the next train wreck.
Truth.
So,
Truth.
and you
You
can
know,
always hide and archive and so on and delete.
I was talking to a general manager of an opera house the other day, and this person said, listen, you know, because I was talking about social media, and they said, yeah, we look at it. We look at the social media before we hire young artists. And I don't know if all young artists actually get that, you know, that what they're putting out there is seen by the people that hire them.
Absolutely. And it's a huge, again, is a huge establishment point of your brand and your public profile and the storytelling around you. It's one of the reasons why I tell every artist, whether or not they hire publicity, if they have a publicist, it's their job, but even before they have a publicist, to reach out to the marketing and the publicity departments of every place that they sing and tell them their story points and try to get them to pitch them for stories, which again, the more prepared you are and the more convincing you are in telling your story to them, the easier it will be for them to turn around and send a 5-minute email to an editor and get you a feature that otherwise you wouldn't have.
Right.
But also to go and be like, hey, can I do an Instagram takeover? I love doing them. And that not only gets you in front of the audience, the audience of that opera house, it also gets some of them to then follow you, assuming you do a great job and you make a really compelling takeover.
Yeah.
It also gets the administrators of that opera house, who again all follow their business on Instagram, to follow you. And then when you tell a story in another city far flung from there, and you talk about some huge, amazing review that you got or some role triumph, they see it. Otherwise, they would have no idea. They're not following where you go.
No.
But they follow you on Instagram and you share that triumph and they say, oh shit, she's going places. That's amazing. And that sense of momentum and the feeling of momentum, when you can, with one post, create that momentum amidst a network of people who might hire you again, that is a powerful community. And you don't need 10 million of those people. You need 1,000 of those, 500 of them that hire you.
Work smarter, not harder.
Precisely. And so to that end, they're watching. When you do that right, there then becomes a weight to your posts because they are watching. And if you share something that is, difficult or controversial, they will take that into account. And are you speaking truth to honesty and something that is revealing and will make people emotionally connect to you? Or are you complaining, or are you attacking somebody else, which you never do on social media? Never.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Sometimes you want to, when somebody says something really stupid.
Do the tried and true opera technique and just talk about them behind their back.
Okay, one more question on this topic, because we have a couple other things we really want to get to. I know that you're super busy.
Yeah.
Are websites obsolete? Do singers need websites?
Websites are so important. You need to have a good website. You must. It is the only place where you completely control your digital presence, from the images, the press quotes, the written assets, the videos that are present. All of that is controlled completely by you. And it is the only place where you can tell the best story about yourself with no feedback and nobody else sort of editorializing for you. That's number one. Number two, it is a place where a lot of different people go to get shit from you, whether it be high-res photos for, or a bio Word doc for a program or for a website where you're performing, whether it be links to your socials, contact, whether it be like press quotes, whether it be videos that they can share, on their socials for a presenter, whether it be like, media who want to get all of your press packet. So you need to have a site that serves all of those different people's needs as quickly and efficiently as possible. Because if they come and they can't find something, or they have to navigate 5 exciting little flash pages to get through,
Right.
fuck it, they're done. They're just going to post whatever they can find on Google, and it's usually going to be outdated. So for those 2 reasons alone, absolutely you must have a website. On the other side of it, you do not, in 2021, whatever the hell year we're in, you do not need to pay a huge amount of money for websites.
Thank you.
And like people who are paying $5,000-$10,000 for websites, you don't need it. You can build them on Squarespace. You can build them. All right. But also,
I told her.
Don't use Wix. Don't use Weebly. They are hot shit.
Yeah.
Use Squarespace. Don't use WordPress either. Don't try to learn how to be a WordPress developer. Your site will be overridden with bugs and hackers in a year. Build on Squarespace if you're going to build yourself. It is hugely limiting in terms of the what you can design and how you can affect it, and the kind of how you shoehorn, a schedule item and a news item into their blog post infrastructure.
Right.
But it's also the easiest to design with and the hardest to break and the most future-proofed. You just won't have a distinctive site. But you also, just shameless plug, I've also been over the pandemic building this platform that will allow us to build sites really beautifully and cheaply and good. So that's another thing.
And updating it.
Develop
That's
everything
so important,
by
right?
you in like the easiest form possible. It's like a pretty amazing platform we built. So
awesome.
That's what we're going to be basically offering everybody. But like I built it again for young artists because they would share with me their just god awful Wix sites, and it would just break my heart. So,
Okay, when is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Soon, probably in the next month or 2.
And what about the 1-minute videos?
Also in the next month.
Okay.
Can we share that on social media?
Yeah, it'll be on all the Unison channels.
Okay, cool.
You're amazing. Can I just say that? You really are amazing. You have revolutionized.
1 to know 1 or 2 to know 1. It's saying right back to you guys.
No.
Okay, because when I was actually researching everything about you, I'm like, oh my gosh, like when do you have time to sleep? And I mean, you do everything. First, I want to go back to your nonprofit company questions for Death of Classical. Did I say that correctly?
Oh, yeah. Nailed it.
And the 2 productions, I think people need to go to this website and check it out. Can you give us a heads up, or if there's anything coming soon, or is everything just
Oh yes, there are. So we did the only large scale production in the fall, even with all the major institutions out there. We did a live distanced sort of in the cemetery where groups of 25 distanced walked through this amazing cemetery, Greenwood in Brooklyn, hearing performances, dance, chamber music, vocal, and ending in the catacombs with this very distanced seating in the catacombs, which are ventilated. And it was all about race in America and just the history of America and the present of America at that moment in October, late October, a week before the election. And it was amazing. And we partnered with the Harlem Chamber Players, who are incredible. And so we've figured out how to navigate the hair-pulling agony of producing during the pandemic. And so we have a lot of stuff coming this spring, summer, and fall. And it's gonna be Can we share all that when it's soon? I can't announce it because we have some huge,
well, when it's available,
huge partners this time around, and I'm actually disciplined because it's huge institutions that are partnering with us.
Cool.
That all of that will be shared probably in the next 2 months, March or April.
Okay.
And all you do, the only way to get tickets to anything we do is to sign up for our email list on deathofclassical.com. Because like we sell out, I mean, especially the crypt, but the catacombs too, we sell out in like literally 5 seconds when we that whole, we did 6 tours a night. So there was probably like 400 tickets for the entire show. Okay. And we sold out in a day, I think, like not even a day. So announcing. So it just goes, and then we have thousands of people on the waiting list.
And the Burger Club. Now I'm here in Paris, and Rosa Parks Burgers are my absolute favorite. Have
I've
you ever
heard
tried?
you're the third person to tell me about this. So
Amazing. They're my favorite burgers in the whole world. Now
we did
tell
a
us about
burger
the
club
burgers.
in Paris, and it was unimpressive. I'll be honest. I've been underwhelmed by the burgers there because, but a lot of people have been flinging this one my way, so I'm interested.
The meat tastes different. The meat
Yeah,
tastes
well,
different. I'm
obviously
sorry.
steak tartare, nobody does it like the French. So,
Thank you.
and I like my
Yes,
burgers.
but cooked meat.
Yeah, well, a lot of times it's too cooked.
Yeah. Oh, way overdone. Okay. I just don't understand this. You need to explain this immediately. How have you not had the Daniel Boulud's DB original burger?
We had the DB, the Bistro Moderne, the one with the foie gras in the middle.
Yeah, but
It
not
was
the
not
original.
well rated. It was a mess. It was a hot mess.
Too much.
No, but the original, the DB original, you haven't had that yet. You
No,
need
we
to
haven't.
have
Okay,
that.
I'll put that on the list.
Okay.
Foie
So,
gras.
yeah.
I'm sorry. It's like yeah. My old voice teacher used to say to me, filet mignon is great for like dinner, but if you have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's too much. Like foie gras on a burger.
Yeah, it's over the top. Although I will say we've had some pretty, like the Minetta Tavern burger is over the top too, but that is an artistic statement in a burger. And then I will say Suprema Burger in the West Village.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
Amazing
stuff, man.
But we're gonna do another virtual. We did a virtual burger session where everybody just cooked the same recipe at home, which was the butter burger.
Ooh.
My arteries are still recovering many months on.
It's on the keto diet. Come on.
It is, yeah, you like cook a bunch of onions in butter. You create a patty and you put a pat of butter inside of it. You then cook the patty in butter. You slather butter on both sides of the bun. You then put the onions on top with another pat of butter with a cheese that's melted over top of the butter. And you put, it is amazing.
Okay. And some Tums on the
Does it
side.
come with paddles? Does it come with like...
Yeah, my heart, I was eating it and I'm like, oh, 10, 10, 10. I'm rating it all. My heart's just like, no, stop it. Don't do it. Don't have another bite. But it's amazing. And Burger Club's incredible. It's an app. A friend of mine who is an amazing high-level web developer who also loves burgers built with me overnight over with like a 6-pack of beers. And everybody rates and puts their little philosophical musing. It aggregates through, so we have like a real-time view of the best burger. It'll supersede everything I do in classical music, unquestionably.
It's hysterical. I love that.
I did combine it with burgers, bourbon, and Beethoven, where we had 600 people in the cemetery tasting 2 different burgers, competing for the Golden Spatula, 8 distilleries, and Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Okay, I need to move back to New York.
That would be the of my life, basically.
You're killing me. I have to move back to New York. You're killing me.
That's it. We're going. We're going. When I'm there in September, Andrew.
Burger Club, it's happening.
Barry's going to come. We're going to do Burger Club.
Done and done.
Okay.
Yeah, the Diva edition.
There's like 5 other things I need to talk to you about. Poor Man's Orchestra. Poor Man's Orchestra, your photography, your mom that you...
Your bike, your MS, yeah.
All right, we'll do Poor Man's Orchestra. That was my musical performance, which peaked when I was the ship's musician on a cruise to Antarctica for 6 weeks. And that was amazing. Although I then got too busy with Unison and Death of Classical and Burger Club. Okay. So that's and then photography. I do a lot of photography. I've been published a lot, although I also did all of the photo and video in the crypt early, which got a ton of reach too. So, cool. But I love photography. Like MS, so my mother the reason I am in classical music in any capacity, she had multiple sclerosis, which is one of the truly god-awful worst diseases known to man. So she passed away 13 years ago. I do Bike MS to raise money for multiple sclerosis research. Awesome. I'm working on commissioning a song cycle on Jacqueline Dupre, the great cellist.
Yes.
Yes. Glad MS.
I want to partner with the Multiple Sclerosis Society and do in either the crypt or the catacombs. But that is a cause that is incredibly important to me. And just,
Do you sleep?
I don't sleep that much, but
I don't think you do.
Do you watch television? I don't think so.
Oh, I watch a little bit of television. I'm currently watching Twin Peaks, which is just a colossal
old school.
We're on the now. We've gotten through the old school. Now we're on to the new one, which is just a total mind fuck. But yeah, I do. We watch some good TV, and we binge along with the best of them. Breaking Bad being my by far my favorite show.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Anything
I will
funny like
say
Ted Lasso?
The Leftovers
Oh,
on
Leftovers.
HBO.
Leftovers.
The show itself is crazy and kind of up and down, but the finale, the series finale, is probably the most beautiful hour of television I've ever experienced in my
The
life.
Leftovers? Where can we find it?
HBO, and it is one of the most perfect endings to a story that I've ever heard. It is heartbreakingly, astonishingly beautiful, and like hope inducing. It is.
I'm gonna go watch it.
I cannot say enough about how beautiful.
Okay. Well, coming from you, that means a lot.
Yeah, right.
So, should we do rapid fire? Do you have enough? Do you have a few minutes?
Rapid fire. All right, we're gonna old school this, man, and we're gonna go back to James Lipton.
Yep.
My favorite questions.
Yes.
That was my watch. Sorry. Okay. All right, James Lipton. What is your favorite word?
Love.
Aww. Least favorite word?
Spoon. It's a weird word.
What turns you on?
Say it enough times, it's weird.
Spoon.
Spoon.
I don't know. There are other words that are really strange too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism. Too long. It's obnoxious.
I love that. All right.
Why? Because you can't eat a burger with the spoon.
Exactly. Also.
I guess if you're desperate, you could, like maybe with a spork. Sorry. Okay, I digress.
If you're really grasping at yourself there.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. What turns you on?
Beauty that goes across mind and body and soul.
Yay. Oh, that's beautiful. And what turns you off?
Being someone you're not.
True. Right. What sound or noise do you love?
Sound of a cello.
And the sound you hate?
Nails on a chalkboard. I mean, come on, it's just awful. Or shit, I had a good one, and it'll come back to me in a later round. Keep going.
Okay. Of course, I have to ask this. What is your favorite cuss word?
I mean, fuck is great. Fuck is a great one. It's another turn off is people who can't say fuck, where they're like fuck, or like they misuse it. Like that's just also fuck as a noun. Like this guy is a fuck. Like that is a great, like this curly headed fuck over here. Great usage. under
use it every which way, you know. It's a noun, it's a verb, it's an adjective, it's everything. So it's the
It's got to do.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would have loved to have been a coder. Like it, to me, is the most powerful creative force nowadays that has you think of back in the day when you would make music and it would literally shape culture, like in the 60s, it would change the fabric of how society interacted. Now it's not the case anymore in the same way, and just the nature of it. TV sort of has that as well, but coding, you create something from nothing, and it is something that can bring people together on a scale that has never been achievable in the history of humanity. And the combination of logic and like technical and creative aspects of coding, figuring out ways to connect and to build that have a logical structure, but also have a creative element and that engage with people is extraordinary to me. But man, it's fucking complicated.
Next life.
Okay. What profession would you not like to do?
I probably never want to be the worst profession ever, which is, I can't remember who told me this, but there's a guy who has to, or a girl who has to collect semen samples at the zoo. That's the worst job. How was your day, honey?
Bob, I'm gonna lose it. That is the best response we've ever had, Andrew.
Thank you. I've been storing that one in the back of my mind, my tortured mind.
I just can't.
How can I ask the last question? Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, wait.
Born ready.
If heaven exists, Oh, sorry. What would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Lived well.
Good.
You lived beautifully and you left the world a better place. That's what I would like to hear.
We love that.
Love that.
Thank you for joining us today. Really, that was
Thank you guys
so
for
insightful.
Yeah, my pleasure. Pleasure and an honor and a privilege.
Thank you. And thanks for what you're doing, especially for the young artists. That's amazing. I wish I'd had that.
It's the future.
Yeah.
So
Both of us.
yeah.
You are the future of this business, and we thank you.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Something I take seriously. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Huge hearts. Talk to you soon.
Talk soon. Bye guys.
All right, bye.